Hi there. It is time, or at least I'm making it time, to go ahead and harvest all of my onions. I'll put a shot in here, a picture of, I forgot where I had planted some onions that were a variety that would be like what you get when you buy green onions. So they're real like small white part, and you're most, a lot of times people buy them more for the greens than maybe the white onion part. Anyways, I forgot where I had planted those, and boy, a bunch of them got really big. So I'm going to need to look up and see if there's still something I can use. I'm hoping maybe, even if maybe they wouldn't be the best for eating, that I could still maybe cut them up and dehydrate them. But anyways, most of my onions have done something where they kind of lay over the neck, where the bulb meets the greens has gotten very weak, and the greens have laid down, and they've been like that for a while, and we've been having lots of rain, but we are currently like in a couple days where we're not raining. So I think it's good to go ahead and get them out. So let me show you what they look like. So I did several different varieties again in lots of different places in the garden. These are a yellow sweet Spanish. So you can see I do have a couple, like this one here, that's not really bent over at the neck. So I'm going to leave it in. The same with these. Their necks still look pretty sturdy compared with one like this. So, oops, here. So you can see that the neck has completely fallen over. This is very floppy. There is still a good bit amount of green in the leaves, but at this point, because it just doesn't seem like we're going to have very many dry spells, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out, and then very gently brush off as much of the dirt as I can without taking off any of the skin that's still very kind of damp and delicate. I want to leave as much of that on as possible and just get off anything that's like really damp dirt so that it doesn't mold or rot. And then these are going to go on these trays in the garage, where I'll put a fan on them, and if it starts to get too hot and humid in there, I'll maybe relocate them to the basement where it's a little bit cooler. But anyways, they now need to do like a curing process. And what we'll be looking for there is for the greens to completely brown and basically wither. And while that's happening, the onion bulbs are still drawing some nutrients and things from those greens, so you don't want to cut those off for the curing. And once that happens, as that's happening, the layers around the bulb will really form those papery layers. That is what's going to help the onions store the longest if they've got lots of those papery layers. So you want to make sure you give them that chance to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have moldy onions fairly quickly. So these are some yellow sweet Spanish. I actually have a bunch of red ones in another part of the garden, but it looks like I have one random one in here. So I'll just pull this out and show you what they look like. And again, it's basically the same thing. You're still just doing exactly the same process. Gently taking off any mud bits that you can without damaging any of that skin. And then we'll set them somewhere, put a fan on them, and let them cure. So, onion harvesting is underway, and next will be potatoes. P.S. I forgot. I did an experiment this year. Some of my onions I planted in little clusters because I had seen somebody did that to save space, and they said you still get decent onions. They might just be a little bit smaller, but that as they start to bulb up, they will push away from each other. Let me show you how some of those came out. So you can see here a cluster, and this onion is fairly decently sized, similar to some of the onions that grew by themselves. But then the two that were clustered with it are significantly smaller. And then these three here were in a cluster, and you can see they're significantly smaller. But honestly, those are still onions that if I was making a dish for just one person would be plenty. So I don't mind having some smaller onions. So overall, I think not a bad idea to do some growing that way. Okay, I'm all done harvesting the onions. I left one or two out there that had really still strong stalks, but they're kind of buried underneath some tomatoes, so I don't know if they'll actually grow anymore, but I thought I would give them just a little bit more time because I'm planning to go out and clean up the tomatoes in the next couple days, so they might be able to get more sunlight. Anyways, I thought I would show you what we came up, what all we got. Hang on. So here we go. I think I'm good for onions. I've got these are the monster green onions that I forgot about in my little garden. And so haven't done the research yet to see if those are something I can do anything with or not. But I've got some decent sized red onions. I've got a couple different kinds of shallots. Actually, I think there's 3 kinds of shallots. So, got a decent amount of those. This type of shallot didn't get as much of. This is kind of a mishmash of a variety of things. Got a couple different kinds of basically yellow onions. I did try to grow one kind, this of white ones. I couldn't find the tag. I think these are the white sweet Spanish. I don't think they got nearly enough sun where they were at. But the yellow sweet Spanish and the Patterson onions did pretty good. And I got some decent sized red ones as well. So I am not mad about this harvest. This should give me plenty to dehydrate and hopefully some that will store. We'll see. And I think I'm going to have some I can maybe give away to some friends. So there you go it. This year's onion harvest. Thanks for joining me in Aunt Susan's garden.